My journey to learn English. It's funny how life works. Sometimes you think you have everything figured out, and then, out of nowhere, you're faced with a challenge that pushes you in a direction you never expected. For me, that challenge was learning English. Let me take you back to the beginning. Growing up, English was just another subject in school. Sure, it was important, but I never gave it much thought. I remember sitting in the classroom, listening to the teacher go on about grammar rules and vocabulary, but none of it really stuck with me. I wasn't a bad student, but English just didn't seem relevant to my life at the time. I didn't have any plans to travel, work internationally, or communicate with people from other countries. So I figured, why bother? I could get by with just the basics, right? But here's the thing. Life has a way of showing you how wrong you are when you least expect it. The real turning point came years later. I had started my career, and for the first time, I realized how important English was. Whether it was dealing with international clients, reading documents in English, or even just trying to understand instructions online, English seemed to pop up everywhere. Then came the moment that really hit me hard. I was applying for a job, one that I really wanted. The interview was going well until the interviewer switched to English. I froze. I tried to respond, but my words were all over the place. Simple sentences became complicated, and I felt completely out of my depth. That experience stayed with me for weeks. I kept replaying the interview in my mind, thinking about all the things I could have said if only my English had been better. And that's when I made the decision. It was time to finally learn English. No more excuses. At first, I wasn't sure where to begin. English felt like this huge mountain I had to climb, and I was starting from the very bottom. So I decided to take small steps. The first thing I did was download some language learning apps. They promised quick results, and I thought, why not? Every day I spent at least 30 minutes learning new words and practicing basic sentences. I'll be honest, it wasn't exciting in the beginning. I repeated phrases like, nice to meet you, and what is your name, over and over again. It felt slow, and I often wondered if I was making any progress. But one thing kept me going. Every day, I learned something new. Even if it was just one new word, I knew I was moving forward. Then one day, something unexpected happened. I was at a cafe, and I overheard two tourists talking in English. For the first time, I understood some of what they were saying. It wasn't much, just a few words here and there, but it was enough to make me realize that my efforts were starting to pay off. Of course, the journey wasn't always smooth. In fact, there were plenty of embarrassing moments along the way. One incident, in particular, still makes me cringe whenever I think about it. I had decided to practice my English with a coworker who was a native speaker. I thought it would be a great way to improve. So during a break, I mustered up the courage to ask him a question. What I wanted to say was, how long have you been working here? But what came out was, how long are you? He gave me the most confused look, and I instantly realized my mistake. I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear. But here's the thing, I learned something valuable from that moment. Learning a language isn't about being perfect. It's about making mistakes and learning from them. In fact, the more mistakes I made, the more I improved. Each embarrassing moment was just another step toward becoming fluent. As time went on, I realized that learning through apps and classes wasn't enough. If I really wanted to improve, I had to immerse myself in the language. So I made a bold decision. I changed the language on my phone, laptop, and even social media accounts to English. It felt strange at first, but it forced me to interact with English every single day. I also started watching movies and TV shows in English. At first, I kept the subtitles on in my native language, but soon I switched to English subtitles. The first movie I watched entirely in English was The Pursuit of Happiness. I didn't understand everything, but I got the main idea, and that gave me a sense of accomplishment. Little by little, I began to pick up phrases, slang, and different accents. In addition to movies, I started listening to English podcasts during my commute. This helped me get used to hearing native speakers at a normal pace. It was tough at first because they spoke so fast, but I stuck with it. Gradually, my listening skills improved. After months of practice, I felt ready to test my skills in the real world. One day, while walking through a local market, I noticed a group of tourists who seemed lost. Normally, I would have avoided them because I wouldn't have felt confident enough to speak English. But this time was different. I decided to approach them. I asked, "Do you need help?" They smiled and started explaining their situation. To my surprise, I understood them. The conversation wasn't perfect. I made a few mistakes, and there were some awkward pauses, but I was able to communicate. We talked for a few minutes, and by the end of the conversation, I realized something incredible. I could speak English. That moment was a huge confidence booster. It showed me how far I had come and how much my hard work had paid off. Looking back, I realized that learning English was never about reaching some final goal. It's a continuous journey. Even now, I'm still learning. There are still words I don't know, accents I struggle to understand, and expressions that confuse me. But that's okay. Learning a language is a lifelong process. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the journey is just as important as the destination. Each step, each mistake, and each small victory has taught me something valuable. I've learned to be patient with myself, to celebrate progress no matter how small, and to never give up. To anyone who's learning English right now, my advice is simple. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are your best teachers. The more you make, the more you'll learn. And don't try to rush the process. Learning a language takes time, but with consistency, you'll improve faster than you think. Find ways to make learning enjoyable. Watch movies you love in English, listen to English songs, or even try to read books in English. The more you surround yourself with the language, the more natural it will become. And remember, it's okay to feel frustrated. There will be days when you feel like you're not making any progress. But trust me, every little effort adds up. One day, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Conclusion: the power of persistence. Learning English has transformed my life in ways I never imagined. It's opened doors to new opportunities, helped me connect with people from different cultures, and even changed the way I see the world. But most importantly, it's taught me the power of persistence. So wherever you are in your journey, keep going. The road may be long, but the rewards are worth it. You have the ability to achieve fluency, just one step at a time. Thank you for listening to this story. Remember, your journey to learn English is unique to you, and every step you take is a step toward success. Keep pushing forward. You've got this.